Hi, and welcome to Commerce Consults with Logic.io, where Blake, our VP of Marketing, and our team of configuration experts break down the experience and usability of B2B e-commerce sites across multiple industries. Today, we're taking a look at Tektronix. Tektronix is a manufacturer headquartered in Beaverton, Oregon, that produces a wide range of test and measurement equipment. Founded in 1946, Tektronix now has over 3,700 employees and generates more than $3.8 billion in revenue. Let's take a look at how they offer and sell their products online.
Right, we're here with another episode of Commerce Consults. Today we'll be looking at Tektronix here with our CEO and co-founder, Chris Schutz. Chris, thanks for joining us. Tektronix is a manufacturer of test and measurement equipment. Chris, again, thanks for joining us. I think to start here, I wanted to start on the homepage with the navigation experience. How easy is it from when you took a look at the site initially, if you're a buyer, to actually find the products that fit your needs, fit your requirements, just when you come to their site for the first time here?
I think it's pretty good. I mean, it shows at a high level, the range of products that they sell, different diagnostic equipment, power supplies, analyzers. They're definitely have issues I see that are really common across a lot of companies that sell complex products. For example, one of them right here, they've got a navigation where you can go and look at Keithley instruments without any explanation around what that means at all. So here they sort of have product definitions broken out, and then they have a brand definition mixed in with it. And as a buyer who might be consuming their competitors' products, considering switching, I have no idea what Keithley means. Looking into that, it does have some cool new feature products in here, and then also they do some interesting kind of segmentation, by market for different solutions. Which is good. So
yeah, the ability to look by solution and by industry can be helpful there. So yeah, it looks like a pretty decent overall navigation experience with some things that could be improved there. So what happens when you actually go and try to dive into one of these products? So if you're going and looking at an oscilloscope, for example, how does that flow work?
Yeah, so I went ahead and pre-registered because we'll jump into their configurator here in a minute. But what they did was they put in some kind of rough catalog search criteria here, which is good, around the bandwidth of the equipment, whether it's analog, digital, different sampling rates, and then you can see at a high level, those products segmented, and they do filter. They do filter pretty well. If you pick one, assuming most of their buyers know that they need an oscilloscope, and you go to the next level down, to see feature and option and maybe more pricing, you're immediately faced with this decision of having to pick between 4 models with no explanation around what the models mean. So essentially what you have to do is go in and configure each one of them independently and then try to compare the options in some form, which is a challenge. But if you select one of them, like we can select the 1202, and this one opened up the configurator automatically. It's good that they have the configurator, on their website, so you can actually, we can go through here and make selections and then submit this as a digital lead, which they'll, later follow up on, and we'll talk about that. The navigation of it is fairly clunky. There's some kind of ominous warning messages here that says repair options will be included unless deselected, and then the page loads with this kind of collapsible accordion sort of UX going to each of these options. So the first one we get is repair services, which frankly, I wouldn't lead with this in a configurator. I think I would lead with options and show guided selling and rules and messages to the users. But the first thing I'm faced with here is repair services, and then I've got an option. Looks like a 3-year protection plan's already been selected for me, which I guess is included in the base price. Although it does say add $398 here. it's not clear if that's in this 1990 or not.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of confusing with the starting price and then additional prices, but those unclear, like you said, if that's dynamically updating, it doesn't look like it as you go.
Yeah, so it's very confusing. So if I select this option here for calibration, the price is not changing, even though it says add, 626. And we can go through here and do some more selections. There's no guidance, to tell me that certain probes are recommended based on, in this case, some selections that I've already made. And as I select these, there's no price updating, so I'm not really sure where I'm at. I've probably doubled this price, I would guess, so far, but it's sort of unclear where we're at. So it's hard for me as a buyer to commit to which is probably now a $3,500 to $4,000, buying decision without seeing, what's actually happening here.
Right, and I imagine in the same vein that you could be choosing selections here that are incompatible with one another too, right? So you could get to the very end of this process and have, request a quote for something that's not even a possible configuration. Is that fair to say, you think?
Yeah, I'm sure that's possible, that you could pick an incompatible probe with some of the other selections that I've made. Right. I did submit one of these for quote about a week and a half ago, and it took about 4 days for them to get back to me with a follow-up. And I don't remember seeing if there was any, option changes that were done based on, from what I originally selected. But there's no, what we would call cross-option constraints or guided selling in here to tell me, if I'm picking things. There's also very little to drive upsells, cross-sells. If you, wanted to extend the warranty, or if there was a new set of probe packages that were highly recommended based on a particular application or use case, none of that is included in here either. So.
Yeah. One thing I'm noticing here would like to get your take on, Chris, is everything seems very spec and feature focused in terms of the options and selections that it's kind of prompting you with. Maybe that's the nature of test and measurement equipment, that the buyers actually know exactly which, options that they're looking for and things like that. But do you think there's value in a company like this providing more like high level traits and requirements and attributes and things like that versus the more specific specs here?
It's hard to say with these. I think some of the other measurement and test businesses that we work with at Logic.io, they definitely using our technology. They've consumerized the buying experience a little bit better and made it a little bit more straightforward. There is some, fairly Tektronix specific language kind of buried in here. And, I think their buyers are probably very technical and, pretty savvy. So this I would guess probably makes sense for most of their buying community, but I think they could take it a step further. I did, incidentally, if you hit kind of request for quote here, it'll grind for a while and then give you a page to put in your your contact information. It gives you a summary here that you can kind of read through. The summary is a little bit confusing because I can go in here and you can actually remove options that I've just selected in the configuration experience sort of a la carte. So if there is any rules that would run in the configurator, you can immediately invalidate them here on the summary page, which I found was pretty interesting. And then you can go through the process here of requesting a quote. And and then they follow up with you after several days. So I think the big challenge here is, if you're a buyer and you need one of these pieces of equipment, you don't know when you can get it. You don't know how much it costs. Those are typically like the two biggest buying criteria that would be interesting for for somebody who wants to buy any kind of expenditure like this. And then I did take it one step further and just did for fun. I did do a search on Amazon for one of these 1202Cs, and you can actually buy them on Amazon through their third party resellers. So it's interesting that it's a challenge to actually get the product from them, but you can go elsewhere and and locate it through various other channels. So I think if that's a valid selling process for them, they should be more aggressive in connecting an interested buyer like me to do that immediately.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because for all of these types of companies, they're competing with all the other selling experiences, including Amazon, right? So it's important that they're providing a more streamlined, as you said before, consumerized experience. And it's interesting, right? You get to this point where you kind of have a bill of materials here in terms of the items on the quote, but even at this point, you're not getting the price points for what you're purchasing. So you're really not getting much. And like you said, especially if that quote's not getting to you for 3 to 4 days, I don't know many buyers who are gonna be okay with that lag time and experience.
Yeah, they'll buy from somebody else.
Yeah,
sure. So so how much and when do I get it? Those are the two big questions that people want to know.
Right. So thanks, Chris. I think this has been helpful. Anything else on the Tektronix site that you wanted to call out, or any other points of recommendation that you'd have for Tektronix as they're kind of evolving their commerce experience here?
Well, I think they're in an interesting business where they're selling high dollar, very complex equipment, and I think their buying community, which is is industrial companies, labs, government institutions. I'm sure they have a big defense business too. All of those buyers, when they need something like this, they don't want it to be a multi-day journey. They want to be able to get the price and buy it and then move on to their next task of the day. I think the products that a lot of the products that Tektronix makes, I spent some time on the spectrum analyzers too. I think a lot of the products that they make, they're very ripe to take and give their customers, an awesome buying experience to procure and get this equipment easily. So I think there's a big opportunity for them.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, like you said at the very beginning, right? They offer a lot of elements of the experience that a lot of B2B companies don't, in terms of offering the configuration experience even to begin with, right? It's a good step in the right direction. It's just kind of sharpening the pencil on that, making sure they see it all the way through is what it seems like based on your analysis there.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, appreciate it, Chris. Thanks for the consult here.